So look at these top stories in Google. Hello YouTube, this is LA Prepper, and I just want you to take a look at this. So let's look at this one. Twitter fools wonder if Amtrak train derailment was Antifa sabotage. Antifa falsely linked to Amtrak train derailment by right-wing conspiracy peddlers. Pro-Trump commentators are suggesting a link between the Amtrak, and it goes on. Then we have a slightly less biased article. Antifa endorsed pouring concrete on train tracks. So what's going on? I'm sure you've heard of Antifa, the self-proclaimed anti-fascist organization which likes to do very violent things to get their message across, which is quite fascist in my opinion. I find it somewhat ironic. Oh my gosh, what is this? So, the reason that right-wing and pro-Trump, conspiracy, what did they call them? Conspiracy whatever's, not theorists, but darn it, what was the... Peddlers, conspiracy peddlers. Good use of the word peddler, I gotta admit. Good use of the word peddler. People do peddle conspiracies. So the reason that people are talking about Antifa, the reason that I'm talking about Antifa, because they were talking about crimes like pouring concrete on train tracks. From their Twitter, June 28th, okay? So, me, personally, LA Prepper, I'm not peddling anything. I'm just peddling... Okay, well, I guess that's not true, but I'm not peddling a connection between... I was going to say link. A connection between Amtrak and Antifa, but I think it's... no matter what caused it, when you have a group talking about we want to derail trains, and then you have a big train derailment with some deaths and injuries, it's just kind of a good time to think about what are we doing about this group that said they want to do this terrorist activity or terrorize the local or the people on the train and emergency responders and everything, So that's my take. My take is not look at it. Antifa talked about doing it. It must be them. No, we're next level here at LA Prepper's YouTube channel. We're not peddling conspiracies like that, but it's not a conspiracy that Antifa claimed that they wanted to do this stuff. So, to the prepper, I think this means a lot more to us as an American than it does as a prepper. I guess in the prepping sense, maybe if you had your everyday carry bag on you. One interesting thing, I doubt anyone had a glass breaker riding on the train. They do have emergency windows, and the doors can be opened in an emergency situation without power. If they're operating, that is, not if they're broken or, if the train is mangled and the doors are jammed. I don't know if every window is an emergency window. So it would, what do you think, YouTube? Should you carry something that can break glass, like one of those little glass breakers, and you could do it with like something that's hard and metal. It doesn't have to be a specific glass breaker, but they are kind of convenient for that. Do you think you should carry one in your everyday carry? Could have potentially been useful on the train for people trying to get out of the train. Who knows? I suspect most of them were evacuated on land, from the part of the train that was not hanging off the... not this part of the train. Probably not trying to evacuate from that part. But, we haven't heard a lot about Antifa in the news recently. I'm sure they will be in the news more recently because of this. Um, hmm. Just reading some of these comments here. Sally Ann says if any concrete is found, then Antifa needs to be designated a terrorist organization and taken out immediately. I thought they were designated a terrorist organization. Perhaps not. Newsweek is saying the feds reportedly classified activists as classified their activities as domestic terrorist violence. So domestic terrorist violence is not the same as classifying the group as domestic terrorists. Look at these guys. Jesus. Look at this shit. I mean, do any of you guys think this is a good idea? You know, I would, if I saw somebody beating on somebody else at a protest, yeah, I would help them out. And to be honest, even though I'm really not a fan of what the anti-fascist people are doing, I wouldn't condone an Antifa person getting jumped and, bloodied and, beaten half to death any more than a non-Antifa person. It's there's no reason to. When you go out in public with a helmet and a shield and a stick, you're not promoting peace. You're really not. You're not putting yourself in a good position. You're just not. I don't personally recommend it. I'm not saying don't protest, but don't go to the protest with a shield and a helmet and a stick. Anyways. Amtrak and Antifa. On public transit, there's really not much you can do. If you're on a plane, a bus, or a train or whatnot, you're kind of at the mercy of the environment. You could say, well, try to sit over here and try to keep your eye on the door and, stuff like that, or sit near an emergency exit, or if you're on a plane. I will say that I do like to try to sit by the wing on the plane. The wing is near the wing is one of the stronger parts of the aircraft. And for whatever reason, probably related to physics and engineering, and moments and such, when planes break, typically the tail breaks off. Like if a plane lands really hard, for example, the tail will break off, the nose will break off, and then you'll kind of have like a middle chunk of the plane. Very often that will happen. So I don't want to be in the very, very front, although I have sat in the front of planes before, and I'm not particularly a fan of being in the very back. But in the middle's all right. I will probably sit in the front of the plane on this next flight if I can get a good boarding pass. I'm flying up to Oakland, see my family for Christmas, but I'm digressing here. So, what's the point of this video? I don't know. I mean, the point is don't jump the gun, obviously. But I don't have the intention of talking about Antifa so much because of the Amtrak, but I didn't know that they were talking about these kind of attacks. And I think the fact that this Amtrak disaster brought to light what Antifa was talking about that I suppose a lot of us missed. I don't know. If any of you were hip to Antifa planning this stuff with concrete and railroad tracks, let me know. I'd be curious to hear it. So, the point of this video is just be awake. It doesn't mean you have to. Although I might set up a Google alert for Antifa. Although, man, it's going to bring up. I'll have to wait a couple weeks. It's going to bring up too many articles right now, but. I just set a Google alert up for eminent domain. I think I'm going to start using them to kind of track different things. I think that's all for this video. Just kind of wanted to talk about it briefly. Terrible tragedy, really. They've been happening more common. They've been a little bit more commonplace in recent years. I feel like we've had more train derailments. I don't know why, but and actually another really bad train accident in France. I know recently a train ran into a school bus, or a school bus ran in front of a train. However you want to look at it. Full of kids, split the bus in two. Terrible. Trains are really amazing pieces of technology, but when things go wrong, they can go wrong pretty catastrophically. So thanks for watching, YouTube. I'm going to make a quick fire update video next. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.